No mai, haere mai, kia ora koutou katoa. So lovely to see you all on this beautiful spring day in Ōtautahi, um, in Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori. I hope you're having a great week wherever you are in the country. So thank you for joining this session around our adult and community education adult teaching modules, and in particular looking at the various ways that we can work and be the best that we want to be as tutors of adults. I like to start with a karakia. He timatanga whakataka te hau. Please join in wherever you are if you know this karakia. Perhaps it's easier if you keep muted, but feel free to join along as well in Te Reo Māori. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga. Kia mā kina kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. E hi aki ana te atakura, he tio, he huka, he hūhinga, ti he Moriora. If you are not a member of ACE Aotearoa, please feel free to join and have access to our e-news and quarterly newsletter. You can find information about adult and community education Aotearoa on our website. There's the link there, and Viv can help you with that if you'd like further help. We have a hui whanau, a national event every year, and a national conference, and we've just completed the Adult Learners Week, which was previously known as the Festival of Adult Learning, last week. So lots to join in, and you're welcome to do that if you'd like to become a member. So ko waio, I recognise a number of you already today, but it's lovely to see you all from all over the motu. But if you don't know who I am the Teaching Standards Advisor for Adult and Community Education Aotearoa. I often work with the other two people in the photo there, Tai and Tahia, and perhaps many of you have been to sessions with the three of us. We're offering a masterclass in Auckland very soon. So I've had a long background in working with adults, and you can see there are a variety of places that I've worked, but importantly I love the work that I do with ACE Aotearoa and the opportunities I get to work with you and bring alive the teaching standards. So today is one of the teaching standards based on reflective practices, so we'll explore what that means to you. I just want to move to this slide just quickly about the ACE teaching standards. So for those of you who are not sure of what they are a standard for all of us as educators, as kaiako, to look at and think, how can we be the best that we want to be as tutors, as educators? And so the standard we were looking at today is the one around practice, and in particular the use of personal reflections and problem solving effectively. So the indicators that fit with that standard are 7.1. So that's why we're having a chance to explore each of these standards and each of the indicators from the point of view of reflection today. So enabling us to consider what reflective tools and how we actually reflect and how we know if how we've been as an educator, how our sessions have been, how our lessons have been. What is it, that helps us improve? So I'll just go back to our introductions, our whakawhanaungatanga, and I can see that many of you have already written into the chat today, which is fantastic. So thank you for those of you who have put and introduced your name, role, and location in the chat. It's always great to get a sense of where you are in the country. Today I'm going to invite you to do something a little bit extra too, and that is shortly I'll give you a moment to write in the chat and share one recent teaching moment that you're really, really proud of. Some of you might be happy actually to share. Sorry, I don't mean to assume, put it in the chat, but you've got an option there of sharing with all of us, so unmuting and sharing a little story, or just writing in the chat. So we're starting at the beginning with a process of reflection. And I think too often we don't actually reflect and think about the good sessions that we've run. I don't know about you, but I often will still reflect on the sessions that didn't work as well as I would have liked them to have run. And even though I know, everyone has those times when they wish that could have been better and things didn't work out, it's still really hard when I reflect to not focus on things that go wrong. So I'm going to turn off my mic and my camera shortly so I can read what you've written, but I'm also going to invite you, if you'd like to, share one recent teaching moment that you're proud of. Thank you. We'll move on. Sometimes I hope this exercise has just helped you think about times that you're really proud of and reflect on those moments of successful teaching and teaching that has worked out really well. Let's move on. So we've had a look at the teaching standards there just before, which one aligns to this session. This is an outline of our session today, and you can see already we have been working on whakawhanaungatanga, the opportunity to get to know each other. So yes, we're going to talk about some reflective practice models, and then we'll have an opportunity for you to share what you do as far as reflection is concerned, and then I will invite you at the end to reflect yourself on the session today. So what is reflection? I'm sure many of you are aware that it is this. It's a process that we evaluate ourselves, and it's based on the idea that we as educators want to improve. And so to incorporate some way of reflecting helps us improve all the time. So it's about reflective practice. Is about the process of thinking about what I do and learning from that. And as I said before, improving my practice so I can be better. And sometimes it's a formal process that we do. Perhaps we have the opportunity to reflect with others. Other times it may be an informal practice that we just do at the end of our session. We think about how our teaching went and reflect and think, right, that bit didn't work or this bit did work. How will I do better next time? What can I do to improve? So these ideas here remind me all the time about what reflection is. So they are quite distinctive activities that I use to reinforce individual learning. So that may be that I invite usually looks like I invite learners to think about their learning, and I try to connect it to the learning outcomes. I try to do that from the point of view of actually making it visible. I mostly work with groups, and whenever I start teaching a group, I often talk about what the purpose, what the outcomes, what the objectives are of the teaching session. And then what I do is try then at the end of the session to invite people to then think about, so what did I learn when I reflect, when I think about the session? Did I meet the learning outcomes? What was my personal goal for this session? What did I want to get out of the session? Did I meet that? So that when it says activities, it means that I give people a model, a framework, some time. Maybe people write, depends on the group. Maybe people talk to someone else. So they're the kinds of activities. And I'm using models that I'll share with you very shortly. So I do try to make sure that I always give people time. This is one of the things that I've learned over the years that is important to me, is to give people time at the end. All too often, I think we spend a lot of time on the start of sessions, and then we get to the end and we rush and we go, oh my goodness, I haven't done everything. I've got to cram it all in. So I try really, really hard not to be doing that, to try to make time to reflect. So to give it its due respect, due credibility at the end. So that's part of my plan. And that third point there is saying the act of going over an experience. So the experience is the teaching I've just done, and then purposefully thinking about it. So it's not just thinking about the people in the room or the room or aspects of the day or the course or the session. It's purposefully thinking about, so did that start, intro, icebreaker work? Did that way that I did that brainstorm work? You know, it's really purposeful. I think about each aspect of the lesson plan and think, so how will I do that next time? And oftentimes I have written it down so that I know next time what to change. I don't always write it down, however, sometimes I just remember, or I make a note, or if I'm using slides, I rearrange it or I write it straight away because it's so easy to forget the next time I come to it. So that's some 3 key ideas about reflection. And please ask questions as we go in the chat if you have any. So I quite liked these words from Donald Shon. Again, it's very similar to some of the other quotes that I've used, but one of the links that I've shared with you in the reference page connects to Cambridge Libraries, and I've only just recently found this link, and they had some very good information there around reflection and activities, and in particular this quote from Sean. So I'll just read that out. It's about saying reflective practice is the ability to reflect on one's actions so as to engage in a process of continuous learning. So I like that aspect of continuous learning, which is a little bit different from some of the other quotes that I've found and used before. So this is a new one for me, and it's always good for me to be doing continuous learning and finding new information. So we'll start with looking at our models now. So some of you may be familiar with these models. Some of you may perhaps have never come across them before, and I've tried in the references to give you some clear links so you can find out more if you'd like to. So our first one is known as the error cycle. It's probably one of the most simple of reflection cycles, and possibly this is one of the ones that I choose, not possibly, but I guess it is one of the ones that I choose to use because it's so easy to remember. And essentially, I have the experience of having done the teaching. I reflect on the experience, and then after that, I take action. So it's an easy one to remember, really, isn't it? We don't need to have the model in front of us. We can just simply have had the experience of teaching, reflect, and then take action. So that may be one that appeals to you. And certainly there are a few of these now that I'll share that you can talk about when we have our breakout rooms, because perhaps some of them are new to you and you might want to try them. So our next model is Gibbs reflective cycle. And this one is also known as structured debriefing. So you can see compared to the error cycle, it's quite involved. But there may be times that this will help you, particularly if you're struggling with a specific part of the session, or it has been something that I've used when I've worked with others and we have been collaborating on a series of sessions. And so this formal cycle helps us when we're looking at improvements. So again, it's like error in that we're thinking and describing what happened. I think the next bit is quite good to actually get our feelings out, because sometimes when we reflect, there can be a multitude of feelings, good and bad. And if we don't have that chance to think about it, then we're basically holding back sometimes, or feel like we can't really say what we want to say. Then we move to evaluation, so that's very clear. We talk about what could be improved. And then there's that extra bit there of analysis. So this is, I think, the bit that I enjoy the most working with other people, is that, it's not just my perspective, it's other people's perspective. So sometimes I might think my own teaching hasn't been good enough, but then the beauty of working with someone else and or others is that actually they can analyze it and say, well, actually, maybe that bit could be different, but mostly it was good. Mostly it worked well. The learners were engaged, etc., etc. So, as many of you know, I work with Ty quite a lot, and that's really been helpful for my practice, to hear from him and talk with him after we've done teaching sessions, to reflect on it and to get an opportunity to evaluate and analyze. So Gibbs adds in the conclusion part here, the next bit, so what have you learned? So that's really inviting us to be specific about, actually, there's lots in the session. I felt this, I talked about this, but this is the bit that I've really learned. And then, like the error model, it's really simply putting it into action. What are you going to do differently? So even though it's complicated, well, not complicated, but it looks more complicated than the error cycle, there's certainly a lot more steps to it. Essentially, it's doing the same. But as I say, I think this is the one that I enjoy using more when I work with other people, as opposed to doing it on my own. Probably I'm just not disciplined enough to do it the full steps. But when I'm doing it with others, I really enjoy breaking it down. And particularly if, as I said earlier, we've been involved in a series. And so each of us can feedback which bits worked well. And if we were to repeat the series, what might we do differently? So maybe Gibbs's cycle is something that you may wish to work with if you haven't already. Let's carry on now. We've just got a couple more. So again, some of you may know about David Kolb's experiential learning cycle. So again, very similar components, isn't it, of all of them? They all do similar things, but I guess they use different terms, and maybe they add different aspects of it. So Kolb's experiential learning cycle talks about having the experience. They all start with that, but talk about reflecting on it. Kolb then uses the words abstract conceptualization. That's a long one to have to sign, I know, but essentially it's about thinking about it. So we have the experience, we think about it, and talk about our feelings. We think more about it in a structured way, and then the final way we can think further is to actively put it in place, do something about it. So that's Kolb's model, and again, some of you may be familiar with his experiential learning cycle. Okay, I just see that there's a question in the chat there. How to extract emotions and feelings from the team to transform into something positive and objective, balancing between listening people but not being trapped in there. That's a good question because sometimes we could all be very harsh and negative about sessions. So it's quite good if you do have someone who facilitates these sessions, if you can, because we probably as a tendency tend to dwell on the negative as individuals as well. So what I've found useful is someone guides those sessions, particularly using Gibbs's model. If someone is dedicated as the facilitator to guide us through the steps, and when then they manage the fact that there's not too many negative emotions. So they would stipulate, let's hear what went well, let's hear what didn't go well, rather than a little bit of a focus on too many negative aspects. So if you're lucky enough to have someone who can do that task, that will help with that model and hopefully alleviate those negative thought comments, or too many of them. I hope that answers your question. Okay, let's move on now to our next model, which is the Driscoll model, and some of you may have seen this one before. It's really quite simple again, so again, you may like this one too. It's kind of catchy, isn't it, this one? It's like what? So reflecting on the session, what happened in the session, and then thinking, well, so what? As that happened, so what? And then now what? What will I do in the future? I quite like this one as a easy way of working with people at the end of the day, particularly if it hasn't been a very formal structured session. Sometimes I offer this one because I think they quite like grabbing it and just thinking about, yeah, so what is today? What is this learning meant to me? So that can be a model that you prefer as well, or want to use if you haven't been using it already. So there are lots of models for sure, but I have just chosen those models this morning to share with you because I see those ones as ones that are useful, they're commonly used and also popular too. So there's the ERA model, the Gibbs model, the Kolb model, and then the Driscoll model of so what. And again, this is why I try and encourage everyone to do some reflection on their teaching, but also some reflection on their learning. So for me, it does mean that I will continuously grow, and congratulations to all of you for taking this time out so you will continuously grow. You're obviously interested in improving your practice, so thank you for that. Your learners are so much better off because you are taking the time to do that. So again, this is a slightly different one. I'm sorry I don't have a name for this. It's just really simply giving you the idea of the reflective process and the practice of experiencing something, reflecting on it, thinking of new ideas, and putting those ideas into practice. It is as simple as that. You don't need to worry about the names of the models and also about the steps. It's essentially that you're interested in becoming better, and you take time out at the end of each session and think, yep, thinking back, I think I'll do it this way. That didn't quite work last time, so I'm going to try and do that. And I will do that all the time. And as I said to you, when I work with Tai and Tahia, it's a real privilege for me to get new ideas from them or get feedback from them and then give it a go myself. So I think there's another question there in the chat. I'll just have a look at that one. Thank you. I also noticed more regular reflection. It became more, I hear you and felt seen if reflection happens every now and then, seeing more emotion come out because possibly bottling it up for sure and holding to wait to express. Yeah, I agree. Natasha. Thank you for that. You're right. People can feel that they've felt seen with the idea of reflection. Yeah, great. Thank you. So let's move on to our next slide. Um, I just found this and I thought, oh yeah, that's what it is. That's what I do. I think about what. I suppose I think about that one in the middle. What went badly? I know, terrible, isn't it? But I do. I just think, oh, that bit went badly. And some of you have seen my bad experiences here online. I feel, but I have been learning and getting better over the year. And certainly I moved to this one at the top. What do I need to learn more about? So I have learned more about being online. Um, I also, say to myself, well, what did I learn from the session? I learned from people. There's always that process of ako, whereby I'm learning as much as I am teaching. I think about some things that were easy, and maybe they were too easy, or I think, oh, that was good because it was easy. Um, why did I feel the way I did? That may be another question. Maybe that's triggered something for me. Sometimes that happens too. I remember other sessions and that triggers it. Um, I don't often do. I wonder what would happen if, but I think that's a really good question or a great way to reflect because uh, that would help perhaps with more creative responses there. And then what was difficult? So, in contrast to what was easy, sometimes I've taken things out of sessions when I reflect later because I think, no, that was too difficult. It didn't work. And actually, did the learner learn? It was an activity, but did they learn what I hoped they learned? So sometimes I can get too carried away with my own activities and think, this will be great, this will be great. And then I teach it and then I reflect on it and I think, no, no, that was far too difficult. No one learned a thing. So just like I'm sure there's times in my teaching experiences where things don't work out and reflection has helped me. And of course, the big one there, right at the bottom, how can I improve in the future? That's what I'm always looking for. How can I get better? How can I be what I want to be the best I can be? And so I'm often learning from others, watching them, seeing how they do things, and then I adjust what I've done. So, and in particular, reflection helps me to do that. So it's an ongoing, purposeful process. So, what about you? Here's your chance. You've heard enough from me. What do you do to reflect on your teaching? So, very soon, Viv is going to give you an opportunity to speak in the breakout rooms, and you'll have a chance there to really share what you do and what's worked or what hasn't worked. Or feel free to talk about those models too. If there is a model there, the Jasper one, or the Gibbs or the Kolb or the Driscoll, you don't need to remember their names, I know. But if there was one there that you really liked and you think you'll try, or if you have your own one too, do share your own one because there are lots of models that people have used and I've learnt about. And yeah, that works too. So, thanks, Viv. She's going to give you a chance to chat, and there are the rooms there. You've got an opportunity to join, and see, you'll have have 8 minutes here to share. What do you do to reflect on your teaching? Great. Thank you very much, Viv. Thank you all for your breakout room participation. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share now about what you talked about in your breakout room? You don't have to, but was there a model or something new that you heard and you think, oh, that'd be good to tell everyone about because I really liked that?
To quickly recognize if something you're teaching is not going well and
Yes,
wrap it up,
yes,
and have something in your back pocket to pull out that's
yes,
much lighter
yeah,
and you can go forward from there, and never
Nice.
be frightened at the power of representing something again,
Yes.
at a later date.
Yeah.
It's okay to fail.
Yep, 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 yep. I did it on Monday, Marie, in front of a big group, and it's like, oh, I tried something and it didn't work. And it's being humble, isn't it? It's like I could have carried on and made them do it the way I suggested, but it was failing left, right, and centre. I was using a scoring technique that wouldn't work. It would be better. I said score 1 to 4, and it would have been better to go yes, no, maybe. I realised later. So it's like sometimes we try these things, and if we stick to it, no one wins. The learners don't win, and neither do you, and you look silly. So it does require us, as you say, never be afraid to be human, to be humble, and just go, right, that didn't work. Let's try it another way, or let's move on. Or, as you say, Marie, really helpful advice. Have something in your back pocket, in your kitty, that you can draw on. Great. Thanks, Marie. Anyone else have something that happened in their session together? Yes, Marie Law?
Yeah, yeah, we shared something very interesting because Shelley said that they use a demo of a teacher and how they could improve. And I think which is good because when we see ourselves teaching, it's not the same. When we have a video of ourselves and just really in practice how we can see someone teaching and just the behavior, the posture, everything is
Yes.
very important.
Yes, yes.
And yeah, so I think I do that next time.
Yeah. Did you mean, did they have a video of that person teaching? Is that what you meant? Were
It's
they
more
filming
a demo.
a
Uh,
demo?
yeah, and
Oh,
what
they
and
practice in front of people.
yes, but
Ah,
I think what Shirley said, is it correct? And I think also to do something like a video of
yeah.
yourself, how we
Yeah.
teach
Yeah, yeah. Good
will be
idea.
good too. Yeah, both. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea. Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Shirley and Marie Law. That's great. You have a question there, Davida.
Kia ora, Jen.
Dave.
Yeah, if in our small session, a couple of things came out. One was we spoke about when we self-reflect to start with the good stuff. So start what went well, like you mentioned
Yeah.
before. No,
Yeah.
we always focus on the bad stuff. What didn't go
Yeah.
well, and you can get 99% good feedback, and then you get the
Yes.
1%, and
Yep.
all your focus goes in there. But
Yeah.
because sometimes I need to give feedback to other educators, and when I ask what went well, they answer about what didn't go well, and say, no, let's
Yes.
focus on what was the good
Yeah.
stuff first, and then we reflect on the rest.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
one other element was like talking about we can have our structure lesson plan, but then when we go and put it in practice in front of the audience, that
Yes.
plan may need to change. So I think it's important to be flexible and adapt to
Yes.
the
Yeah.
situation. Like I think there's a
Yeah.
quote from Mike Tyson. They say everybody's going to plan until you get punched in the face. So it's kind of like that. You can plan all you want, but then sometimes you need to change what your plan was. So
I
yeah,
like
that's
that.
all.
Thanks, Davida. Can you repeat the
No,
Mike Tyson quote again? What was it?
I was something like everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. So that was very
That's great.
very relevant, I think.
I hope none of us get punched in the face, but yes, we
No,
you
yeah,
like that too.
emotionally maybe we do.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah, that can happen. So no, thanks. Great advice there. Great. I mean, suggestions around, isn't it? Not to dwell on the negative all the time. Yeah, thank you very much. And
always.
to not beat yourself up, like he's saying. Don't punch yourself in the face or feel like that when our plans don't work. Because it's only when we try that we learn, and only often when we fail that we learn too. So great. Thanks very much. Great feedback. Anyone else from their group?
Hi.
Hi,
I'm
Bindi.
just really noticing and talking with Judith how the act of talking with her and being one-on-one with someone let a whole lot land.
Yes, yes,
And yeah, that opportunity to talk with another person in
yes.
reflection is really powerful.
Yes, thank you, Bindi. Yeah, and actually, it is as simple as that, isn't it? I mean, we can have all the models we like in the world for best practice, but actually, if we just take the time and talk with one other person, that's the best, opportunity for growth often. And the thing is, when working in the adult education sector in the community, is we don't often have that chance to talk with someone else. So I'm really glad you appreciated it, Bindi, and thanks, Murray, both of you for sharing. And it may be that you want to set that up for yourself at some stage to make it part of your practice, is to find someone that you could connect with, that you respect, that you learn from, and vice versa, and make that happen. Okay, let's move on. Thank you for reflecting and thinking about your teaching. So there are lots of benefits to it. This is a bit simplistic, isn't it, really? But I like the model. I always like finding a nice graphic, and I like this. It's about benefits, why we do what we do. And it's interesting, that first one there, isn't it? Escape the rut of teaching. Because I don't find that teaching is a rut, but I guess some people do, and they have to teach the same old to the same old people. So maybe they find it a rut. And so reflecting helps escape that rut, helps us think about, oh, let's do this a different way. What can I do to help bring the learning alive? So that's a bit of a negative one to start with, but the other side of that is strengthen the relationship with learners. The more that we reflect, the more that we really identify what works as far as our learners. We make sure that the teaching that we've planned, the teaching that we deliver, connects with them. And as well as that, I often find too that it helps us if we model reflection and we invite our learners to reflect, we're developing them as reflective learners. So they have agency in their own practice of teaching, of learning, beg your pardon. They have agency for themselves. So they have an opportunity to take control of how they learn, what they learn, when they learn. And the last benefit of teacher reflection is being able to respond to the needs and abilities of learners. If we reflect again on how our sessions work, we can we can really see which bits we need to revisit and make work as far as the learners that we've been working with. So that's just a few. There are plenty more. I like this final quote from John Dewey, the educationalist. We do not learn from experience, we learn from reflecting on experience. So it is a really favourite quote of mine, to remember that it's not just the experience. I won't learn from it, but I have to think about it afterwards and think, what worked, what could I improve on? That will help. So it's time now to think about our session ourselves. Were there any questions? Were there any thoughts, any reflections? And here's an opportunity for you to reflect. You can do this wherever you are, because we'll move to our evaluation after this. But I'm interested in what will you do next. So what will change for you from having attended this session? Many of you have given up this time out of your busy schedule. So that, you heard some things about reflection. So what? And, what has it meant to you? And what will you do? So we've covered a lot of different models. We've covered the 4 models there of ERA, Gibbs's cycle, Kolb's experiential learning cycle, and then this Driscoll cycle. And you talked to some other educators, you heard from some other educators. What will you do as a result of today's session? Have a think about that. If you feel like writing it in the chat, you're welcome. But for some people, reflection is an intensely private experience. So you may just want to write it down for yourself, or put it on a post-it note, do something that's different. Different in your practice. You may want to add it somewhere so you know what you will do next time. Will you reflect? How will you do it? Will you try one of the models? Will you invite someone else to check in with and reflect with? What will you do? So this one is karakia whakamutunga. Kua mutua mātou mahi, mō tēnei wā, manakitia mai mātou katoa, o mātou hoa, o mātou whānau au ki te aorangi.